Hello, and welcome to Inches and Cubes, a Warhammer 40k podcast presented by Encounter Wargaming. Our fearless hosts are me, Paul Mr. Fist Fowler,
Point and click Nick Kozlo,
and
Adam Truaxe, the truest axe to ever axe an axe.
And we'll be guiding you through our favorite parts of the hobby, so grab your cubes and come with us.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Inches and Cubes.
Our baby's in the double digits.
Woohoo! So it's exciting, and if you want to check out episode number 9, we talked about things that inspire us and things that have inspired 40k in general, and we had lots of fun, so go back and check that one out. Mm-hmm. But today, we are going to be talking about strategies and tactics, the things we've learned about 8th edition in the last couple months.
So I think we should start the game off. This isn't the game.
No.
Start the podcast off by defining what strategy is and what tactics are.
Sure.
What's the strategy, Adam?
So it's for me. It's I approach the table and I decide exactly how I'm going to bring down my opponent.
Yeah.
The kind of the overarching big picture of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then tactics is the small stuff.
Yeah.
How you accomplish the strategy. Yeah, because as Sun Tzu says, the battle is won before it's fought.
There you go.
So, hobby progress, gentlemen. I wrote down Adam first.
This is the real strategy right here.
Yeah,
This
It's
is
true.
the way you decide to paint.
I saw a great shirt, by the way. It was like I think it was on Beasts of War, and it had like a picture of a Space Marine and then a dice underneath it, and it said, "Let the hobby be the winner."
Hey-o.
I like that. You know what? I'm stealing that phrase. I'm writing that down in my phone right now.
He's Instagramming it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hobby progress, Adam.
Oh, yeah. So I just continued a little bit of work on my primaries librarian. Just doing more highlights and working up the layers and stuff. And then also got 2 boxes of the easy-to-build, whatchamacallits, Reavers.
They come blue
Reavers.
already.
They do. They're blue already.
Ultramarines, guys.
They're Halloween masks.
Yeah.
So good.
So scary. And then also, special treat, I made an absolutely fabulous trade for me for a Rhino and 10 Stitches of Silence, and I traded them for a Spartan assault tank.
Adam!
How?
Why is it always you that gets these trades? Like, I'll trade something that's like, yeah, I
It's a
gave
fair trade. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave a guy like 10 Space Marines, and he gave me like a good Yelp review. And you're like, yeah, I took some plastic that was just kicking around that I'd never paint, and then turned it into a Spartan.
Literally the Rhino I painted 8 years ago for like a random custom chapter Space Marines.
I can't even look at you right now.
Yeah. Let's move on.
And so all I did was take off all the mold lines and clean it up. And so that's because buying or trading doesn't count.
No.
But I actually did some work on it.
Okay, good. Was it the one that has the tracks built into it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, you
Oh my
are
God.
so lucky.
I know, right?
Ooh, when I did the Typhon, and it did not have the tracks built into the chassis. Oh boy.
Sad ball.
There's a Typhon-shaped hole in Paul's drywall in his old apartment.
Luckily, luckily
multiple holes because it wasn't put together yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paul smash.
Luckily, that tank was built like a tank. So, my hobby progress is a little bit sparse. I've been waiting for the rest of that commission to come in. So I took all the Primaris Marines that I have assembled and primed, and all the bear heads I just kind of put on champagne corks.
Bear heads.
All the helmetless heads. They're not like
That would be such a cool
Space Marine chapters.
chapter, though.
Just werebears. Yeah.
I think it's time for...
Oh, what you got there?
Oh, I just have a Mill Street Tankhouse. It's an oldie but a goodie. One of my favorites.
That's the one I dropped on the floor. God, it's fine. I was expecting that to explode.
We've been talking for about 50 minutes before we started.
Yeah,
this.
That's true.
Yeah, so I put all the heads on champagne corks, primed them, painted them up. I like painting faces separately, just if I have that option.
And Paul now paints eyes.
Yeah, now I paint eyes, because Adam berated me in front of many hobby enthusiasts. So that was fun, trying to have a couple of different skin tones, just because if you have a fleet-based chapter, and I don't like everyone having the same color skin, it weirds me out. So that's kind of all that I did. I finished the Ghouls, but they've been finished for a while. They were a lot of fun, actually. The really tiny details and just the scheme that I went with is a Duncan recipe that I found for zombies, and where it's really pale, you throw blood on it, and it's just so satisfying to have those models painted up like that. So yeah,
And they do look mighty scary.
yeah. There's one that's like straight up a White Walker face. Like
Ugh.
it's their faces are really cool. I gotta say, like the sculpts are really nicely detailed. The one with the baby really creeps me out. Actually, she's not finished. I gotta go in and finish a couple of things on her. I wanted to just make the baby a regular baby. I like the idea of it just being like
Still alive.
yeah, like taken out of a crib. And also, it made me sad to think of painting a dead baby, so I didn't. But undead baby. But then I was saying this to a friend of mine last night. I was like, at first thinking, oh, I'm gonna do like a realistic color scheme for these guys. So I was like, not really thinking, absentmindedly, like on my phone in bed, googling like dead bodies, and then I was like, la 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 la. Oh, I'm different now. So, you know, maybe pick your reference material more wisely than I did for a minute.
Yeah, at least you weren't using the dark web for that.
Yeah, no.
good.
CSIS is going to definitely send a letter to my house.
Okay, that's good. Oh, that's me, yes.
Yeah, now you do.
I'm just tooling up my Death Watch for the doubles tournament this Saturday, tomorrow for all you guys out in podcast land. Just painted up the turret for the Razorback, the twin las cannon turret. Love that thing. It's just having two las cannon shots just sitting on the side of the board. It's put away, Adam. So I'm sorry, don't look for it. And then I painted up a Hurricane Bolter to throw on the Corvus Black Star and swapped out the assault cannons for las cannons and got those painted up. And I'm working on what am I working on? A librarian for my Death Watch army for Saturday. A lot of work to do there still. And a Vanguard veteran with twin lightning claws. It's the Raven Guard model from the Death Watch Overkill box, and I love that model.
The fact that they haven't just released that on its own and have been like, this is Shrike now.
Yeah.
It's better.
It should be Shrike. Oh, again, I've said this before on the podcast. I try to use as many of the ones from Death Watch Overkill as I can in my Death Watch army because they are awesome.
Yeah,
they are so cool. Like, there's a guy over there. He's a White Scars guy. He's got like a long spear. There's another guy who's got like a sword and like a hawk on his shoulder.
Yeah,
really cool models.
Such a good idea.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have for Hobby Progress. Sorry, Paul wants to say something.
Before we get to games played, I need to make a correction that was said last episode. The founders did not create all sentient life design all sentient life in Star Trek. It's just that the same actress played the alien that shows up in TNG that plays a founder in DS9.
In the same makeup.
Yeah, but it's not a founder.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay.
I'll eat my hat.
You sure?
I told you.
I'm going to fact check this on the break.
This was fact checked.
But okay,
this is the fact check. This
is where I was confused because this is like 12-year-old Nick watching Star Trek, being like, "Oh man, remember when on Space Channel when it was like original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager?
Oh man,
and then Enterprise. We won't talk about Enterprise.
What's Enterprise?
Exactly.
But
so get home and you just watch 5 hours of Star Trek. That was my afternoon.
Go home and just protect your virginity like your life depended on it.
And now it's cool.
Yeah. But I just
cool.
Yeah. Now we're old and don't care what people say. If these podcasts ever enter into any historical record, we can't go down as the people that got that wrong. So that's the correction that happened today.
There is still credibility in Nerdland.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I made that mistake. I'll give up the crown of nerddom to Paul.
Well, you know.
But you can see why I made the mistake.
It also doesn't matter at all.
It does to me.
Okay. What about games played, you guys?
I'm really disappointed in myself. I know.
Dude, you know what?
Adam!
You know what?
Make me feel happy.
Here, Adam. I'm gonna share this.
Make me feel happy. Tell me about games. Tell me about your games.
All right,
played.
Nick.
Speaking of Star Trek,
I just opened up a beer for you.
Thanks,
It's
Paul.
a golden lager from Cameron's.
What's it called?
Captain's Log.
Yeah.
And I think for this occasion,
Stardate.
so, we don't have a start date on there. But I think for the occasion, it's the perfect one to soothe your wounds.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to pour it directly on my wounds.
It's not a good plan. I'm not a doctor, but don't do that.
So I only played one game, It was fun. Played against a new guy to the club, Nick, who's just been getting out and playing games like crazy, as it seems. And he's got a beautifully painted Space Wolf army. And he wanted to test out his 1250 tournament list. So he took a Land Raider Crusader in 1250, which was hilarious. And is not a big issue because it's 8th edition.
Yeah.
So everything's good and everything can die. He had a squad of Deathwatch whose bolters are crazy.
The way he's modeled those Deathwatch is
I didn't see his
so
Deathwatch guys.
cool. They're just like all gray armor, wearing cloaks,
Oh, nice.
and skulls painted on the helmets. So I think the idea is that they're kind of wolf scouts or something that just act like Deathwatch.
Yeah.
So it's just like a really cool
Makes sense. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It looks rad as heck.
It was his first game playing Maelstrom, and he'd never played it before but wanted to try it because he'd heard of it. Yeah, it was crazy. He had this wolf priest that gave a bubble of cover to all his units. And then when they were also... I don't know if it stacks when you're in cover as well. I just always felt like his guys were always getting 2-up saves no matter what I could do. So that was pretty fun. And yeah, just had a good time. A Contemptor Dreadnought rolled up on his Land Raider and did 12 wounds in one punch, which was awesome. And I ended up losing by just a couple points. So it was a close game.
I told you can't split the Maelstrom deck up. It doesn't work. If you split the Maelstrom deck up, it means that there's not identical objectives for both sides.
That's only an issue that like both sides don't have a chance to get certain unique ones that are high scoring, like Kingslayer and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one.
So,
But I mean, you're just playing it for fun, right?
yeah, exactly.
Well, if you want to do that, just say if we draw one of those unique ones, it's in play for both of us. There you go.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just put it in the center and say we can both do that and draw a new one for the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Paul, why don't you tell us about your fun time rolling out the Fire Raptor?
I rolled at the Fire Raptor. I played Chaos Marines, Corn Focus. The overall lesson that I learned is you deploy back as far as you can when it's Corn. We were playing the Relic, so I kind of had to rush forward. Not what I should have done, because then there were Corn Berserkers everywhere. I have to say, Jesse's army is one of the most beautiful armies I've ever played. He extensively converts everything in such a way that as soon as he explains what stuff is,
It's what it is.
you get it.
Sorry, question. Would Adam give those conversions a 10 out of 10?
I don't know. Adam's pretty picky, coming from a guy who doesn't do conversions. No, it's really cool stuff, I gotta say.
I played against that. Not that a lot of the units in that list 2 years ago at Astronomicon, and the bases on that. There's round bases, but instead of like being a flat top, they have like they're dug out, and they're just full of skulls that he's painted, and then he puts in blood for the blood god.
I've seen his army. It's amazing.
Oh,
it's a really cool army.
10 out of 10 conversion.
I'd have to look close to give a definitive answer on that.
Oh god.
God,
I just can't remember it that well. I remember it being awesome, but I don't remember picking one up and like seeing how clean all the lines were, and if you're mixing two different kits together, how well do they go together? That's a sign of good conversion.
Yeah, he I gotta say, he played well. I lost that one. I got tabled, and I don't think I did anything wrong except deployment. That's the thing. Like, all of the targets I picked for all of my weapons made perfect sense. I, defeated by details. You start putting wounds on something, continue doing that until it's dead. Yeah, I just should have deployed back farther. In that game, Terminators were my MVPs, I gotta say. They really put in a lot of hard work and tied up a bike squad, took down a Demon Prince that a Contemptor took every wound but one off of, which was really disappointing because he failed the last demon save and then was like, oh, command point, and then survived with one wound, and then he was able to kill the Contemptor.
And that Hell Sword, or whatever it's called, is dirty. 3 damage each.
Yeah. And the way he's got the Demon Prince modeled is it's just like a Corn Demon Prince with 2 knuckle dusters. So it's just like big brass knuckles. I love it. It's such a cool idea. And it's just so brawly. Like, it's belligerent is the only word for it.
Cool.
Yeah, that was my game. Nick, you got a bunch.
Yeah, I played 3 games over the last week. So first game it was kind of a blowout. I played against Phil. He is putting together a Sisters of Battle army using
Dreamforge,
Eisenkorn Valkyr troopers. They look great. They're really cool. So he was using Sisters, 2 Exorcists, a Knight Archeron, which, oh man, that Flamer thing is brutal. And they also use Custodes against me in 40k. And fun fact, Custodes Land Raiders hit on 2s.
Mm-hmm, that is fun.
So when it's pointing 4 las cannons at your Fire Raptor first turn and you go, you're hitting on 4s, not going to be bad. And he hits with all 4 las cannons on a 3-up. And then does something like 19 or 20 wounds to it.
That'll do it.
Then like, it's dead. There goes a fifth of my army, because you're playing 2,500 points with Lords of War. His Knight Archeron, that thing has a flame cannon on it that I don't even know what to do about it. So it's like range 18, strength 7, AP minus 3, 3 damage. And it's 2d6 auto hits.
Ugh. Oh my god. I mean,
so it tore points off my Knight.
I got the same thing with the Chaos Leviathan. It burned my Fire Raptor out of the sky.
Yep.
Which, Flamers becoming the best anti-air is hilarious. And
we are going to talk about that more later on in the episode.
Yeah,
it's part of a tactic.
Yep.
And then, so that game didn't go well. Noise Marines, always the MVPs. Because he was pushing me into a corner. He had like 3 squads of Sisters and Celestine. And was able to take out Celestine because I killed her once with the Whirlwind Scorpius. And then she charged a squad of Noise Marines. I killed the Blastmasters. The Blastmasters fired at her when she died and killed her in combat, which is awesome, as we all know.
Yeah, we know.
And then he was like slowly taking down my Noise Marines, and every time he'd kill a couple, they'd fire at one Sisters of Battle squad and slowly started taking that down.
It's just so frustrating that it's a straight up attack. It's not even like hitting at -1.
No,
it's
just they shoot.
A guy's head gets cleaved in half, and he's like, "I know what to do about this."
But those are my chapter tactics, which we'll get to in a second when we talk about some of the new stuff going on. So then on Saturday, I did a couple practice games for the doubles tournament. I played one 1250 game against Jason Mitchell. He brought Deathwing, lots of Terminators. Oh man, lots of Terminators. Yeah, it did really, really well. I barely won that game. I think we were just playing the 4 objectives, and I was able to hold on to 2 of them, and he only had 1 by the end of the game. Deathwatch really, really hurt when it comes to numbers, because they're so expensive. I got 15 models in a 1250 list.
Yeah, so you lose a guy.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
And then Jason and I played against Graham, who also brought Deathwing, an almost identical list to what Jason was running, Dave's Dark Eldar. And we put up a hell of a fight, but there was just too much Dark Eldar on the board. They soak up a lot of firepower. All of their vehicles have a 5-up invul save.
Holy moly.
Which is really good. Yeah, Raiders, Venoms. Venoms have a 5-up invulnerable save, and you're -1 to hit them.
To be fair, though, like, if 5 autocannon shots get through,
it's dead. Yeah. No, once you hit the Raider, it's gone.
And they lost to Jink, and so that kind of makes up for it in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Well, they lost the Jink, but they also kept, and this is brutal in 8th edition, the ability to fire out of the open top transport. So no other army can do this. Well,
I can do that.
Right, but can you move 14 inches and then do it?
12.
Yeah.
What army?
The Sisters of Battle Repressor.
Yeah, the Repressor.
So you can shoot 6 models.
So he's got a Venom running around with 4 blasters in it, and then I think he had 2 Raiders in his list that had a Dark Lance on the Raider and a Dark Lance in the Raider. And Dark Lances are strength 8, AP -4,
hilarious,
and D6 damage.
So it's a melta-gun without melta?
With a 36-inch range. So that surprised me, because we went first. My Razorback did 9 hull points or wounds to Graham's Predator. And I was like, yeah! And then a Raider just popped up on top of a building and blew up the Razorback. And I was like, oh god. No. With only 2 Dark Lancers, and just blew it off the table.
Also, if you got a couple extra points kicking around, Hunter Killer Missiles on everything is hilarious. My first turn, just Hunter Killer
Missiles.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because they're really good. strength 8, -3 AP, D6 damage. It is upsetting when
Maybe
rhinos.
We'll put that on there.
I'm going to model a bunch and magnetize them and just stick them on every unit that can take them if there's a few points left over.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And yeah, it was a fun game. Really looking forward to the doubles tournament. We just did a standard mission. I didn't want to, because we designed the missions for the doubles tournament last week.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to give anything away.
No, and that's like insider baseball.
Yeah. But this was also like the first time that you've played doubles before, but with kind of inexperienced people to the hobby. This is the first time I've played a doubles game with people who are experienced in the game. And it was good because we actually came out with a couple things that you need to address before you play a doubles game as far as command point usage and stuff.
Yeah.
Which it's not just like, let's just throw down with 4 people. You have to sit down and talk and be like, okay, only one person can spend command points in a turn to do the counteroffensive.
Yeah, that's going to be the rule that we're going to go forward with on the tournament.
And it was interesting too because we told before the game, like if you want to steal the initiative, you both have to lose a command point. And they looked at each other and you can see them thinking and be like, okay, well we're going to roll the C's. If we fail, we're not going to each lose a command point. Right?
Not lose, spend.
Right. To spend a command point. So it was interesting. It was fun. Good games.
Why did you make that rule? Did they both have to spend a command point to roll it?
We just figured.
Yeah, well, if both people get an advantage from it, one person shouldn't suffer.
I see.
And we went with the ruling that you can trade 1 command point between players
Per game.
Neat.
Just for fun. And then also, at the end of the game, for the random game length, we also introduced the thing. So it's basically the person who went first rolls a dice and the game ends on a 1 or a 2. You can use a command point to re-roll that, and again, we said in order for that to work, both players have to spend a command point.
Should be interesting because it'll make you want to save a command point for the end of the game.
Yeah, I was the only one who had command points left.
Yeah,
because I was the only one. Because it's tough to fit lots of troops into a 1250 list. So I have 3 squads of 5 Death Watch guys and 2 HQs. So I was able to do a battalion detachment. So I had 6, and I think the rest of them only had 4 each.
Yeah.
So
4 is pretty standard, I think, for small games especially.
I'm really looking forward to this weekend's doubles event, and we'll have more on that for you next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Why don't we take a break, and then we'll get into our main topic.
Well, can we do one thing before the break?
No.
New stuff. We're going ahead with it. So in the last couple of days, we've been shown some new Space Marine chapter tactics that are coming out in the new codexes we talked about last week. So, and we also got a new unit. We got the rules for new unit. We also know that we're going to have a bunch more new primaries units. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about the Raven Guard chapter tactics. Paul, you can talk about Ultramarines, and then Adam, you can touch on the Reavers with an eye. I'm not going to touch that one. So Raven Guard, their new chapter tactics, which I think affect infantry characters, bikes, and dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting at a Raven Guard unit and it's beyond 12 inches, you suffer a -1 to hit. That is so good.
Yeah. I love that rule.
Like, so good.
Mm-hmm.
As a Raven Guard player, I really appreciate the stealthiness of that.
But that's like, it's not just the first game turn. It's all the time.
Yeah, before it used to be they got shrouded the first turn only.
Yeah. And then the other thing, too, which I think it's not as evident right away, but essentially they can spend command points at the beginning of the game to put stuff in reserve and then deploy it as strike from the shadows. So a unit that wouldn't normally be able to deploy from reserve now can if you spend those command points. So think about it, because you can just be like, Centurions.
Mm-hmm. Hellblasters.
9 inches away.
Love it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on there and a lot of potential.
For the Hellblasters to really be good, though, you need to have that captain near them. You got to be able to you got to be able to rapid fire and overcharge.
Yeah.
For them to be really scary. Otherwise, they're
pretty scary.
They're okay.
Yeah.
But if you can overcharge it, they're really scary.
Overcharging plasma? Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I got to get my plasma guns out, put them back on the Chosen, and throw a Chaos Lord in there just for like 10 plasma gun shots on overcharge, rerolling ones.
Yeah, I need to swap out my librarian for a captain and just get those rerolling plasmas.
Yeah.
On the Stern Guard.
Paul, why don't you talk to us about the leak for... Well, it's not a leak.
Yeah, they released Ultramarines, and this one is just crazy good. You can fall back, and you can shoot with a -1 penalty. That is huge. You can fall back out of combat.
Yeah.
So the biggest way to deal with mass shooting is now got a counter.
Well, there's actually one thing that I did find out. You can't fall back through enemy models.
Yeah.
So if you're able to completely surround a unit, it can't fall back.
Right.
And even if it has fly, because there's nothing that says fly can move over things anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Just
always
something to keep in mind.
What about, can jump packs go over things?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah. We'd have to look at the wording.
Yeah.
But
Because it might just say in the movement phase.
yeah, but I don't know. It'll be in the big rule book. I didn't notice anything in the data sheets, but
Point is, being able to fall back and fire is a huge thing. If you've done it to anyone or anyone's done it to you, you really understand how much of a boon that is.
yeah, -1 to hit. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think we talked about this last episode. I fallback is really good. I think it's too good,
Mm-hmm.
and there should be some sort of payoff for that. Like, everybody gets a free round of Overwatch at the unit that's falling back, or gets to attack one last, something like that.
No, I don't think so.
Because okay, because I just don't see like a unit being like, those guys are running away. Let's stand here and not follow them.
Well, you can follow them.
Well, and the whole game is like that.
But if you and I are fighting and you take off, I'm gonna try and grab you.
Exactly. So in your turn, you run at me, and
You've now run 20 feet away and are pointing a double-barrel plasma gun at me.
yeah, but
I know. I think there should be something that mitigates how powerful fallback is, especially with this new Ultramarine thing coming into effect.
well, I just think given how like powerful assault armies have gotten, gun lines need that. Like,
Yeah, you play a gun line. That's why
I do. I sure do.
Adam.
Sweet. So the new Reavers came out on Saturday in the easy to build box, and they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. Shot grenades. Shot grenades are awesome.
They don't. I'm really disappointed. They don't have like a pumpkin.
Bomb.
Grenade,
No, like a pumpkin with a handle on it, like trick or treat.
little UNICEF box,
You know, a little UNICEF box in one hand, the skull masks.
pennies for the emperor.
And the golden throne. Give me the golden candies.
Yeah. I really like those models actually. Like and it depends on when you catch me, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I
Your
don't.
opinion changes.
The one thing that I like, as soon as and Connor said the same thing too, right? As soon as I saw the guy with the grappling hook, I'm like, well, screw your carrying case. Because there's a guy who's like firing a grappling hook in the air that like goes out like 4 inches, and I'm like, how am I going to transport
He's
that?
the Batman Reaver.
Yeah,
Does that have a rule?
Probably.
it does something with terrain. It affects movement somehow.
Okay, cool.
Is the sort of throwaway line that GW had released. I like the look of the models right now.
In this moment.
It reminds me of the Metal Gear Solid 3, the one with Raiden. He's got this like
Christopher Lambert?
no. Let's try that.
Different Raiden?
Different Raiden.
Oh.
He's got like the scuba mask that's like got a skull motif on it, and I don't know. I sort of like the scary looking dudes with their Halloween masks.
Yeah.
So my biggest issue with them is not the masks; it's the booties,
Yeah.
the
Like-
skinny ankles, and the
I thought you were
big
talking
Space
about
Marine
the
shoes.
butts.
No,
I was like,
My
what?
biggest problem is that they are too alluring and make me feel different.
Those are some tight-fitting power armor briefs.
Square butts no more.
no, it's the skinny ankles and the big power armor booties on the bottom,
They should have just went with skinny jeans the whole way down.
the whole way down.
Like
Yeah,
Fulgrim.
instead of
Adam has a child, hence the booties comment, because booties and shoes do not click in my mind. Thinking about different booties. Anyways,
Get out of here with your carnal appetites.
Okay, so let's actually talk rules. So because they're the Halloween men, they're incredibly scary and are -1 leadership to units within, I'm going off the top of my memory now. Is it 3 or 6
6.
inches? 6?
18, 24, 32.
Either
Doesn't
one of
matter.
those. Somewhere in there. And then shot grenades. This is their big thing. D3 shots at 6 inches like any other grenade on the 6-inch thing anyways. D3 shots, and if you hit a unit of infantry, Don't do any damage, but they can't overwatch, and they're -1 to hit you back.
That's
in
really good.
combat.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
I heard somebody talking about on the internet that these guys were made with Night Lord's DNA.
Oh, I don't believe that at all.
But that's the only reasonable explanation for the -1 to leadership.
Or, I don't know, chemical warfare. They excrete pheromones. They're latently psychic.
Wouldn't enemies just be sexually attracted to them? They're just putting up pheromones.
Bad ones. The terror ones.
Okay, sure.
That's a thing.
Yep.
Just saying, it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah, we're also looking for logic in a game where
Made up universe.
people get in, like, 10-mile-long spaceships to go have sword fights. Like, let's not dissect the logic a little too much.
No, I know. It was just last episode we were talking about, like, how for Chaos, I'm, like, kind of disappointed that we lose a lot of those leadership, because that's what Chaos used to be, right?
Yeah.
Like a demoralizing leadership thing. And then, like, the Space Marines, the good guys, are more terrifying than Noise Marines and Plague Marines and the Demon Prince.
League of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I'll grab a box at some point and paint them up in the black scheme that I did my skates in.
Oh, that would be really cool.
So the only other thing to mention is they're also AP -1 on both their bolt pistols and their combat knives.
Yeah, so they've got the call pattern bolt guns.
They're called heavy bolt pistols.
Call pattern heavy bolt pistols.
Without the call.
No, they're call pattern. Like, everything is call pattern. Like, it's a call pattern bolt rifle. It's the call pattern. What are the things that...
It's just not what it says in the data sheet. That's all I'm saying.
I know. But if you look in the rule book, it's all call power.
Call power.
More power. Call power.
Cute.
So cool stuff. We're going to see a lot more individual flavor come into the Space Marines, which some people have complained about. And like we're going to say constantly, tendy press. Relax.
Maybe, yeah.
Codex are coming out.
I mean, we did get that sneak peek of like a bunch of the HQ units, like the Apothecary and the really spooky looking chaplain that I just don't like the look of.
He you know what he reminds me of? He honestly reminds me of Reaper from Overwatch.
Okay.
And the Death Jester.
He's so edgy. He's wearing a trench coat.
I know.
Like, it's just get out of here.
And he's got like rib cage armor.
Yeah, like pick one.
Yep.
Like,
but you're gonna get some cool stuff with Imperial Fists, and you're gonna get nothing with Luna Wolves. And don't you dare run Ultramarine tactics.
Hey man, I have Raven Guard painted.
I know, but I mean, when you're picking a chapter for your Luna Wolf Primaris.
oh, but there's gonna be
I can do what I want.
yeah, there's also gonna be generic ones in that book.
Oh, of course, yeah, there should be. I just don't like people who like switch between each game. Okay, this game they're Ultramarines, this game they're Raven Guard, this game they're Black Templars. It's like just pick one.
Whatever the best rules are at the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you to all you people out there playing all Storm Raven armies. We love you.
No,
I don't.
Yeah, no.
It's being facetious.
Don't put that on me.
Yeah, don't put that on me. I don't want to be lumped in with that crowd. Take a break.
Yep. I gotta go look at some stuff.
Battle Brothers Studios, a commission painting service passionate about making your miniatures and your gaming table look great. Our philosophy at Battle Brothers is this: your army is our army. Every model will be something you can be proud to show off. Send us a message on facebook.com/Battle Brothers Studios for a free quote and make that dream project come to life. We also have something special planned for the release of 8th edition of 40K. Right now, get 20% off if you commission us to paint an 8th edition starter set, or get a 10% off Army Bundle bonus for painting up your new 8th edition 40K Army. Inquire with us on Facebook for full details.
Hogtown 40K, a club for all Warhammer gamers. $20 gets you early access to fun events, club swag, and the privilege of knowing us.
Yeah, that's a dubious privilege.
We play Saturdays at the Sword and Board, and keep an eye out for our Lethal Lottery doubles event on July 22nd. It's 1,250 points. You get randomly paired up with a new player each round, so come on out, meet new people, and have fun.
And we'll probably go to Duffy's after.
Woo!
Alright, welcome back to Inches and Cubes. That was a message from our sponsors. Please check out those lovely, lovely people that we just mentioned. We're going to be moving on to tactics here in in 8th edition. Stuff that we've learned, stuff that we've noticed, and things that we're going to be grieving about because we're wargamers, so we're really good at that.
Yep. So we're going to start off with the pregame.
Mm-hmm. So pregame, Nick, do you want to just take us through the important points there?
Yeah, so first thing I've got here, and this speaks more towards strategy than tactics, is like list building. List building, deployment, command points, how you build a list, and what you include in that list. So a lot of us really like to, I don't really like to tailor the list that I'm bringing to the opponent too much.
Yeah.
So if I know I'm facing Paul, I might, switch a thing here or two, but I wouldn't be like, I'm going to take 2 squads of Havocs with las cannons, and I like to build a Takel Kummer's army around a set core of units that I find are like a must include for me, because I enjoy playing them and they perform well. Noise Marines.
Yeah. I do something largely the same. I never really tailor for the opponent that I'm playing. I just feel that that's not fun.
Unless you're both doing it.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation ahead of time.
Yeah, and I feel that you and we play each other a lot. We'll do that. We'll all be like, I'm bringing this because I'm tired of that. And you'll be like, well, I'm bringing this. And that leads to an arms race where one of us has a twin-linked volcano cannon. But...
True.
No, what I like to do is...
To be fair, that was your fault. You messaged me, you're like, I want to get a big tank. I'm going to get a Typhon. I'm like, I also want to get a big tank. I'm going to get a Falchion.
Idiots.
We built them together, too.
Yeah, it was a nice day. What I'll do is kind of select the units that I want to build a list around. And with 8th edition, I will find the Force org that best applies there. So right now I'm running Vanguard. And I thought about my list over the weekend, and I was talking to Connor and Nick about it. My Vanguard list has a lot of heavy support in it. So why not add one more, move that into a separate detachment of Spearhead.
Which the all 3 heavy support in HQ?
Right.
Yeah.
So now instead of having one optimized detachment, I've got 2 optimized, and that brings my command points up to 7.
Right, which brings us into the next point. Command points. Building an army around command points. It's really important. I see a lot of people doing exactly what Paul does, or really, really going for the battalion detachment. That seems to be the choice. 2 HQs and 3 troops, and everything else around that. Because having 6 command points, it's not a lot, but it's way better than having 3.
I agree. I've been tending to aim for something more like what Paul's talking about and doing 5 command points, just getting the basic 3 and then 2 single point detachments.
Yeah, that works too.
Just the way the sisters go. I could probably do it with my primaries Marines. I could get the battalion. But I find a lot of the games I've been playing have been smaller point games, so it's harder to
it really
inflate it.
So yeah, that's how we build lists. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm. So as far as dropping during deployment, how much do you guys factor that into when you're building a list? Are you counting the amount of units you have?
I am. I'm also pairing them up with a transport usually. So for example, my 1250 Death Watch list that I'm bringing to the doubles tournament, for anybody listening on Friday, you'll have a good understanding of how to beat me and what I'm bringing. I have 3 drops. I have 6 units and 3 drops because there's 3 transports. There's the drop pod, there's the Corvus Black Star, and there's the Razorback. And then each of the Death Watch kill teams is paired up and put inside one of those transports. And that's really important. They're Death Watch. You got to go first.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not going first, you're dead.
Yeah. I mean, I played a 2,000 point game where it was the same situation. 3 drops. 2 Land Raiders and a Storm Raven. And it was Grey Knights, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a unit of Terminators inside each Land Raider,
yeah.
And then 2 units of Purifiers and the Grey Knight. Yeah. Chapter Master, whatever.
The nice thing about doing the transports too is it does give you that flexibility, because if you're going to face somebody who, for example, you're fighting guard who's going to have 12 plus drops, all of a sudden you know you're going to finish first, even if you don't deploy everything inside of your transports.
Yep, flexibility for deployment is huge.
When I was playing Phil, that was one of his main things. He wanted to go first, so he put all of his Imagifiers, which is the Sisters of Battle guys that give you the
bonus faith.
Bonus faith points. He put them in Rhinos, and he was like, okay, well, I went first, and now because you want to be getting those acts of faith off as soon as possible.
Yeah, you never put them inside rhinos.
Right, because unless you get them out first turn, you're not getting acts of faith out until third turn.
No, but you can't even. Yeah,
that's what I mean, right? If you don't get them out
at the start of the turn,
exactly. So if you don't get them out during your first turn, you can't use an act of faith first turn or second turn.
Right.
You have to wait until third turn to start using them. Now, mind you, him going first ended up with me losing a Fire Raptor, so it was probably a good choice. But in a different situation, he would be like, no, I definitely deploy the Imagifiers with some infantry just out to get those faith points off earlier on.
But you don't even need to deploy them like that. You just put them right beside the rhino, an inch behind the front nose of it, and they just advance all the time. Because you don't need them to shoot.
No.
They just run around with the flag.
Are they characters?
Yeah.
Okay, so they can't be.
But I also killed yours the first game we played with the Helldrake.
The Helldrake.
So there is some, and you got snipers on the board. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a good tactic. But again, it all depends on the game, and that's why I'm saying like being able to make that decision, being like, I'm going to deploy this Terminator squad into the Land Raider, so it counts as one drop, versus I'm going to deploy this Terminator squad in the Teleportarium.
Yeah.
To get an advantage later on in the game.
Well, I find units that have multiple options like that, I always deploy my Land Raider and Terminators last. Because
then you make that decision.
Then I make that decision. I know that you like to put stuff in the Teleportarium right off the bat.
Well, we're going to go... Well, let's move into deployment now, because that was kind of pregame.
Yep.
So we're going to go into deployment, because as Paul was saying, now we have alternating deployment. Mm-hmm. So we talked about minimizing drops through transports. So yeah. Go.
Yeah, that's the way that I like to play those. I like to either put them near the end or in the middle, just so I have some tactical flexibility. I know that you, being power gamer, you like to make people react to your deployment.
Yeah.
I like to be able to react to deployment because I'm a gunline army. So.
Yeah. So what I do is whenever we start alternating deploying units, I always start by saying like Terminators, Teleportarium. They deploy a unit. Then I'm like, Chaos Lord, Teleportarium. They deploy a unit. Then, after they have 2 units on the table, I can finally start deploying my actual units on the table, which, it's worked for me well so far. They usually deploy, like, the most powerful thing, whether that's Havocs. They always need to be where the armor is. Mm-hmm. Fire Raptor needs to be out of enemy fire, where it can, like, get into combat really quickly. What else do I include in my lists? I just put the Scorpius behind cover because it doesn't need to see things.
Yeah, and that's the way, like, with Thunderfire cannons. I can deploy those first because that's fine.
Yeah, they can hit the entire board, right?
Mm-hmm. They hit the entire board. They don't need line of sight.
Yep. That's okay. Yeah, counter deployment's really important as well. If you see somebody putting down a knight, you need to counter that. And that's what I really like about 8th edition now, is because for a while playing Horus Heresy games, there was that one mission where it included this. So you're playing 7th edition Horus Heresy, and it was alternating. You deploy a Lord of War, I deploy a Lord of War. If I don't have a Lord of War, then I deploy a heavy support unit. Mm-hmm. Alternating back and forth till everyone's deployed.
What do we think about the contrast of the order, deploying it in any order you want versus a set order?
Well, to speak to Nick's point, I think what you're getting is a de facto order. Like, it depends on what's going down, and if you're deploying second, you're reacting to that. So you want to put down your squishier stuff so you can see where your opponent's putting down their heavier, like their more high damage output.
But I do get what Adam's saying, and I kind of do like that, because it doesn't make sense that, a unit of land speeders would be put down first. No, they're fast. They're going to be arriving to the battle from an unexpected quarter, so fast attack should be one of the last things to be deployed.
Okay.
As opposed to, see that area there? There's actually a knight there.
Yeah, but
that's what you were trying to get at, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you said, we have to deploy Lords of War first, it's like, you hear the big rumble, you see the shadow off in the distance, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, it's there, and your troops have enough time to run around and set up guns to, anticipate it's coming,
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so my strategy generally when it comes to dropping and deploying is just in the smaller games where I've used the starter set Primaris stuff, just put the 2 units of Bolter Primaris Marines down kind of in the middle, because I know I'm just going to blob stuff in the middle with all the characters to get the bubbles, which we'll get to later. And then, so I'll deploy those two, and then I'll start doing my Inceptors, right?
Oh, for
this
sure.
is in the sky, and then I'll put like a meaningless lieutenant down, right? Just like a single model to then try and pull stuff somewhere in the middle.
Well, characters being single models and single units, you can also get a lot of drops there. If you're doing guard, say, all of your platoon commanders and stuff, so you can really slow ball somebody.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but Chimeras can take 12 or 10 guys.
I think
It's been 12 in the past.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
so
12.
if it's 12 still, again, you have that tactical flexibility, right? You can take like a full 10-man squad.
2 characters and Chimera, and that's 4.
And that's 4 units. That's 1 drop.
Yep.
Or you can get that commissar out to go shoot people in the head earlier on.
I love the commissars.
I love the commissar too.
So yeah, that's deployment.
Yeah. So the last thing I have for deployment is going first or second. I like to go first. I need to go first. I need to put my opponent on the back foot, and I need to start, like Paul said, I need them to react to me.
And I also like going first, depending on the army. If it's an assault army, I love having first turn, so I can just get as much firepower into those guys as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I've been tending to prefer second
Yeah.
in this edition. I like that even with an assaulting army, my sisters have enough of a balance between shooting and assaulting that an assaulting army will just come at me as fast as they can. That puts them in charge reins of my, like, I can then charge them first turn.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the stuff that's really good for me, like my Penitent Engines or Celestine, can now just get the jump on them. Which,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
yeah. And it still allows you to go and get the objectives last.
Yep.
Which is handy dandy.
Which, again, is something that needs to be thought about as well, because objectives are the game, and there's only one mission that doesn't have objectives. So if you're bringing an old Bloodthirster army to the Relic game,
It's almost
those
like,
Bloodthirsters are never going to be able to pick up the Relic.
and that's really funny to me.
And that is hilarious to me. Or an old tank army, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
an old Dreadnought army. They're not picking up that Relic. So what are you going to do about it? So you got to really think ahead. And I think what we're trying to get at is build an army that can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to go through the phases now. So we're going to start off with movement. So the first thing I have down here for movement is the way that disembarkment and transports work now.
Yeah, that one for me has come up a lot because it seems on the face of it that you get a 9-inch movement, but you don't actually.
In some situations you can, in others you have to do it properly.
Right. So if you don't have room to like get everyone out in that 3-inch in front, if you're in a corridor, don't do it. Get your guys out first, then move. If there's any question, do it the right way.
Yeah, if your rhino's just in the open with like nothing around it, sure, just move 9 inches.
But if not, you get them at 3, you move them your 6 or your 5 or your whatever.
Yeah.
Just because the other way's cheating.
Only that.
Yeah,
It's kind of like one of those things like from last edition where like I was guilty of this, and they've changed it because everybody was guilty of this. Is the moving and running at the same time?
Yeah.
Right. Because I used to do that all the time until Adam was like, "That's technically cheating."
Yeah, I mean, there's just 1 or 2 instances where, depending on what you roll, it would have been the difference between
Going this
deciding
way.
to move that way or not.
Definitely, right? So that's why I really like advancing now, but it's sort of the same thing, right? Like we do things for the sake of speeding up the game sometimes.
Yeah.
And in some situations it doesn't matter, but in some situations it really does. So again, it's one of those things where you have to kind of like, you're playing a game with your opponent. If they're like, yeah, just do it because, you know, you're in a tournament or this movement phase has been going on forever and you're tired of playing against Orcs or Guard and you're like, yeah, 9, whatever. Just get your guys
do
on the
it.
table so I can kill them faster. I don't care.
Finish.
And then the other thing too, tactically, this is one of my things that I love to do, is I love to get the Noise Marines out of the rhinos and then get those rhinos up as far as possible and bait people to charge them. Or use the rhinos to charge other people.
Oh, yeah.
That is
soaking up Overwatch,
Yeah.
all those beautiful tricks.
Yeah, well, because like you charge the rhinos in, because against the game that I played against Jay, this is where I did this the most, like you put the rhinos out in front, and him being Orcs, because he gets in character, you could tell on the last podcast. You just charge the rhinos, and the next turn I just pulled back the rhinos and unloaded on them with noise marines.
Oh, that's so brutal.
Yeah, so like little things like that against an assault army.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't fall back to, like, when you fall back, is there a specified direction?
Nope.
No.
You can just move.
Yeah, so exactly. So you can fall back, you can fall forward, you can be like...
Advance towards the rear.
Yep, rhinos, go towards the enemy deployment zone. King me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just another harassing unit. Like, if you're going to fall back move toward the enemy deployment zone, now you can charge stuff that's like they're sitting back gunboats or something.
I'm gonna be finding some combi meltas to put on the rhinos.
Yeah. Also remember, you
Come
can't fall back through enemy models, so you can't charge someone and then fall back through them.
Exactly. So yeah, you can't do that. So we were talking about the Ultramarines chapter tactic earlier. Good counter tactic: swarm them.
Yeah, surround them.
Yeah.
Club them.
It happened to me with Grey Knights, and more of it gets into the nuance later in the fight and charge phase. So we'll fully talk about the best way to swarm something later.
Yeah, but fallback is part of movement now.
Yeah.
It's super important. It's really good, especially guard being able to fall back and then give the order to automatically shoot as if it were the shooting phase, even if they fell back. Super good.
Yeah, that's
really
a really good one.
And then fly units. Because
It is good to be dope and fly.
good to be dope and fly.
Mm-hmm.
Bikes, I think, have another rule. Well, Deathwatch bikes have this. They can fall back and then charge.
Rude.
Yeah.
Just doing sick wheelies and donuts.
So that's why if you put a Deathwatch biker and a Deathwatch Vanguard veteran in the same Deathwatch kill team, it can charge into combat. Next combat phase, it can fall back, shoot, and then charge again.
So it gives that buff to the whole unit.
It gives that. That's what Deathwatch kill teams do. If you take they don't gain fly, but they gain the ability to fall back and shoot as if they had fly, and they don't gain the biker rule. That's a rule, but they gain the ability to fall back and charge.
I like that. Like they're running interference for each other, and
yeah, it's really cool because you can also put jump pack guys and bikes in the Corvus Black Star.
Also awesome.
Boom! Just drive a motorcycle out of the ramp.
Biker mice from Mars, man. Just drive out of a plane. Who cares? Nothing matters.
Yeah.
The last thing I have here, and I actually don't use these very much, is command bubbles.
Yeah, I need to get into those more. And once I get those primaries, I'll paint it up. I think that's going to be more important. Adam, I know that you've used them a lot. Can you?
Yeah, a lot. This is totally the direction they're going with 8th edition in my mind. So, and especially the way they've set up the starter set. The Primaris Marines give you 4 models that have some kind of effect like this. So if your captain's reroll wants to hit, 2 lieutenants reroll wants to wound, and the banner, which is when a unit dies on a 4+, it can shoot or fight.
When a model dies.
A model, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that'd be really annoying.
Yeah, super annoying if something died and just got to shoot Nicholas.
like overcharging Hellblasters.
Yeah.
Because they're going to die anyway, so you just overcharge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could fire again.
That's right. So I've been toying around with how it works with my sisters too, so now I just take like a cheap Canoness who sits around with my Exorcists and my Heavy Bolter squad, just to allow them reroll ones to hit. And yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I love the style of it. It makes your characters more important as opposed to just going in one unit and building this Death Star. You have this feel like this character is like motivating your army, supporting your army.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
as opposed to just whacking things with a stick really hard.
Right. So yeah, because characters in 7th edition and all editions previous are very like unilateral. They're just one thing.
Yeah, they're meant to punch people in the face really hard.
Like melee characters and then ones you never took. Like that's
yeah, exactly. There's some great stuff out there. Like re-rolling ones to hit is huge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. On your Hellblasters.
Yeah, on your Hellblasters. What other bubbles are there? The rerolls to 1, the wound rolls of 1.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Yep.
Yeah. And they stack up with tanks, they stack up with infantry, they stack up with everybody.
Like your Necron character gives a +1 to hit.
Mm-hmm. That is
really good,
so much fun.
Because you tie that up with the Tesla, like we talked about.
So they advance, and you're shooting a BS3.
No, what I mean is like they stay stationary,
Yeah,
and then your Tesla goes off on a 5 or a 6.
yeah, that's me. I love it.
Ugh, super gross. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, I just realized. Oh man. So if I take my unit of Terminators with the Chaos Sorcerer, and if the Chaos Sorcerer casts Prescience on them, they gain +1 to hit, which means Death to the False Emperor goes off on a 4, 5, or 6.
Yep.
There
Woo!
it is, Adam. We just watched the birth of evil. That's what it looks like.
10 Terminators! Ha!
Yeah, and so I'll say this right before we move on, because we can move on after this. We've talked about it enough. Every person's bubble is different.
So
as
read
I've noticed.
the rules.
Read the rules, because I failed to do that with other things, and it's very important.
Sometimes it's 3 inches, sometimes it's 16 inches. Things like the Psychic Hood is 18 inches.
Sometimes you need to be fully within, or just within.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's units, sometimes it's models.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not vehicles. Sometimes Adam screws up and cheats with his Sisters of Battle.
Because sometimes they take Penitent Engines out of the Sisters of Battle list entirely and put it in a totally different list.
I know. Because when I told Phil that, I'm like, yeah, Adam used an act of faith, and like his Penitent Engines just like ran halfway across the board. He's like, you can't do that. It's cheating.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Straight up cheating.
Straight up cheating. That's how I roll.
It's okay. It was your first game. How many times did you do it after you played me?
Twice.
Did you win any of those games? Not anymore.
Fool me
One
once.
of them, yes. The other one, no.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We all make stupid mistakes. Like for example, we keep getting caught up in 7th. So when I was playing Jason on the weekend, Jason Mitchell, not Jason Booth, Adam's using the little boys' room. He assaulted me. He deep struck and then assaulted a unit of Death Watch that had frag cannons. Mm-hmm. And me being like, "Oh, they have frag cannon template weapons." I overwatched.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 2 turns later I murdered a whole bunch of Terminators with the frag cannons because they're 2d6 shots each, and there's 2 of them in a squad. So I think I wiped out the squad of Terminators on Overwatch. And he was like, "Yo, you shouldn't have been able to do that." I'm like, "Oh God, you're right," because you were outside of the 8-inch range.
Mm-hmm.
So just important things to keep in mind.
Adam, what are you doing?
It's a Mill Street kind of day. So right now, it's a Mill Street Organic, which I think was the same as last week.
And the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistent.
Yeah.
You buy that in bulk? Do we have a sponsorship we don't know about?
Were we supposed to start making beer?
Oh, yeah.
We were.
Okay.
And actually, the last time that I had the Mill Street Organic here, it was because we did buy it in bulk. We bought a 2-4 Tolkien's when Justin was hanging around.
Awesome. All right, so after movement comes
Psychic.
Psychic.
I wrote here, smite is good, and then underlined it.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's all the insight I have in Psychic.
No. There's a bunch of stuff. Thank you, Adam. Adam's sharing the love with the beer.
Mm-hmm.
So, Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, really good. Mortal Wounds, awesome. And being able to pump out Mortal Wounds just through smite is really, really good.
So here's a fun tactic for Grey Knights, because I had to fight it and it hurt.
It wasn't fun for you.
It was not fun for me, but it was funny to watch because it was the first time I saw it. So 2 units of Purifiers inside of a Storm Raven with the Grandmaster or whatever. They have a weaker smite.
Yep.
Sorry, a shorter range smite that is more powerful than regular smite. So it's 3-inch smite, but it's d6 wounds all the time.
Ooh.
Okay? The Grandmaster doubles the range of the smite.
So now it's 6
So now
inches.
it's 6 inches.
Yeah.
2 units of it in the Storm Raven that can move 30 and then jump out.
The turn
go-
after, yeah.
The turn after, and then go blam blam, smite smite. 2d6.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Magnus, gets off d6 smite all the time. Because Magnus is Magnus, and we love Magnus.
Ugh.
For tactics for Psychic, again, a lot of the new Psychic powers are extremely situational, and you kind of have to build a combo around it, like you just said, right? You have to take this character with this Psychic power in this situation. Otherwise, sure, it's powerful, but it wouldn't be very useful if you just had that on the board, not in a Storm Raven, right?
Yeah, like the idea of having a Space Marine librarian who has Null Zone and doesn't have Terminator armor is kind of silly because you need him very close.
Yep.
And otherwise, he's going to die. They're really squishy characters.
They are very squishy characters. Null Zone, denying people invulnerable saves, really good against anybody who has a Storm Shield. Mm-hmm. I tried to get it off against Dave with the Shadow Field, but I couldn't quite pull it off because I also felt like that would have been super demoralizing. Just be like, drop down the librarian and shoot him with frag cannons and watch him get ready to roll his 2-up saves and be like, no. Saves. The other thing, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, combo, is I do Warp Time as an auto-include for Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
You throw that on a Demon Prince, all of a sudden that Demon Prince is moving 24 inches and still charging. That's so good.
Might of Heroes in the Space Marine list is pretty good if you throw it on a Dreadnought. Because now you've got a Strength 16 Dreadnought.
Who's got +1 toughness.
Mm-hmm.
And +1 attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty good.
real mean.
The other one, too, is Veil of Time, so always striking first.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, that's huge.
Even if you get charged, you're striking first.
The only tricky thing with the Demon Prince combo that I was thinking about, because I'm helping my buddy Justin build a list, is the Psychic phase comes after the movement phase, so don't run too far away with your Demon Prince from your Psyker to then cast it.
Demon Prince is a Psyker.
Oh, right, he can cast it on himself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So, okay, that's right. Because he took it as Corn at first, so he wasn't a Psyker.
So he's casting Psychic powers on the Corn Demon Prince?
No, he wasn't. That's the thing.
Good, because I was worried you were rubbing off on him.
No.
Jesse did that to me. He had a Corn Sorcerer. And
Like he was
Did he justify it through fluff?
I'm sure he
Okay,
did.
you didn't ask him, you didn't give him shit, you don't know him well enough to...
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He doesn't deserve the way I am right yet.
That's fair. And then Deny the Witch hasn't come up too often for me.
I've denied a witch here and there in my day.
When I played Phil for the first time, the fact that Eldar Psychers can deny 2 powers a turn, really good.
Yeah.
also fluffy.
Yeah, also really fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesse, that last game, denied 1 power. No, he tried to deny a smite against me, and I denied a smite against him. So that was, helpful, handy.
Despite the fact that every single one of my units in my sister's army, for the most part, can attempt to deny something, I never get it off because you only get 1 dice.
It's
impossible.
The only psychic power that you can deny is Smite.
Yeah, because it casts on a 5 and you have to roll over on 1 dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little silly.
Yep.
But there we are.
But if you're facing an army like Thousand Suns and they're getting off 5 or 6 smites a turn, you now have, because it's not, usually it's just 1 model can attempt to deny.
Yeah.
Every one of your units can attempt to deny within 18 inches. Or
So
24.
it's they do 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them rolls exactly 5.
Yeah.
And maybe I roll a 6.
Yeah, this game's
So
the game
I-
of maybes.
So I maybe stop 1 out
It's a
of
free ability.
30.
It's a free ability. I'd take it.
It's not free. I gotta buy a librarian. But
No, I mean for
No.
his sisters.
oh
it
yeah,
just
no,
comes on
you
my
get
hands.
out of here.
Yeah.
It's a free ability, Adam. That's pretty much it for Psychic.
And we just to further that point real quick though, we've only seen a handful of psychic powers. We're about to get codices, so we might see a lot more.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Odds are.
Yeah.
All right.
I just want to see Chaos God specific psychic powers back, because right now we've got Nurgle
Yeah.
and no Tzeentch or Slanesh or Khorne.
Well, Korn doesn't have psychic powers.
Apparently they do.
They shouldn't.
Jesse.
I shouldn't shit talk him. He's a really nice guy.
So I think that sums up the Psychic phase. Any final points there?
No.
Okay, so that moves on to shooting. What do you got, Adam? What do you want to talk about in shooting?
I don't know. What's our first note?
It says target priority. This was yours.
That was my note. So a big thing that I've noticed, especially for people who I've been teaching the game, is target priority is huge. What I've seen is a lot of units being brought down to like half strength, or you take a couple wounds off, especially tanks these days.
Yeah.
When essentially what you really have to do is focus fire and kill something, or bring it below half to, if it's a tank, to start making it descend in its effectiveness. Because there is no shaken, there is no stun, there's no immobilized, no weapon destroyed. So things are not getting weaker, essentially, in a really weaker in a really big way, right? Because snap firing, if you stun something, is a big deal.
Yeah, that is a
right?
huge drop in effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it depends on the army too, right? Because, for example, when I was fighting Phil's Knight, it has the Reaper chain fist thingamabob.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
It's the Archeron, so it's got like the Flamestorm cannon, and then it's got
the big double chain.
So it's -1 to hit. So if all of a sudden you get it to half, it's hitting on close combat on 5s.
Mm-hmm. Big deal,
right? Especially guard. You bring a guard tank below half, it's hitting on 5s now. Space Marines again, maybe below half. Okay, it's hitting on 4s. It's not bad, but it's definitely not good. So I think that's the new kind of stunned or shaken result.
Yeah.
But it's harder to do that.
Oh, it's definitely harder to do that. Unless you get 4 lucky las cannons and blow up a fire after first turn.
It's also persistent. Yeah. And we're just going to ignore how salty he is about that.
I'm not salty. I was frankly amazed because that was just like, I fire las cannons all the time, and he rolled like 3 5s and a 6.
That's unlikely,
for damage.
but
I'm like, what? Yeah, okay. Yeah. You'd be angry if that happened to your fire after
I'm
first
always
turn.
angry. Yeah. That's my secret, Captain. So yeah, target priority and sort of defeating by details is one of the big ones. What else have we got here?
Split fire. So this is something that's come up in a few games for me. When a unit fires, you have to decide. All right, right now, any model can fire its weapons at any unit. So if you have 5 Space Marines, one of them has a las cannon, one of them has a combi melta, 3 of them have bolters. You can make the las cannon fire at one target, the combi melta fire at a different target, and the bolters fire at another target. But you have to declare that before you start rolling to hit, which is important because you can't have, like, for example, a Storm Raven with las cannons blow up a transport and then fire the hurricane bolters at the guys inside.
Right, or you can't say if you have like a Land Raider within range and some Terminators, you can't just sort of fire the bolters and then fire the melta and then be like, well, I need the last cannon actually at the Terminators. That's a more immediate threat as opposed to what I was going to do.
Yeah.
You need to declare all of that. That's also just the most friendly way to do it.
Oh, for sure. And like going back to tie these 2 points together, target priority and split fire. This happened to me in my last game where I was dealing with a Dark Eldar Raider that I needed to kill. So I declared, like, I'm going to fire the Corvus Blackstar at it. I'm going to shoot everything at it because I need it to die. And it died with the first weapon I fired at it. And I'm like, well, I wasted everything else on that this turn. But, again, it's luck.
Had it gone differently, you wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so the cool thing behind this is now you can build your list in a way that you can have stuff that can kill tanks and infantry on the same model and not feel dumb about it.
Yeah. Yep. That's why, like,
right?
Yeah.
Like, having a las cannon Predator turret with heavy bolter sponsons was so stupid before.
Yeah, it sure was.
You could never do that.
No, and now it's good.
Yeah. Now you should be doing that.
Now you definitely should be doing that. Although the best one is the Predator autocannon turret and 2 las cannon sponsons.
By far.
That's definitely the best way to go. That thing scares me. That really scares me. Keeps me up at night. I also have here Flyers versus Flamers.
Boo. I loved it, and then I came around on it. Yeah. Flamers is anti-air. What the heck?
Yeah, you loved it when you shot down that Tyranid flyer?
Yeah, but then it happens to you, and you're like, is that what I'm doing to people? Oh my god.
But it's one thing when it's like a heavy flamer versus the Flamestorm cannon on like a Knight or the Leviathan Dreadnought.
Yeah.
So what they need to do is get in there and look at each weapon that has the ability to do multiple shots like that at a short range and say, cannot target flyers.
Or -1 to wound.
Sure.
Or has to roll to hit still.
Sure. That would be cool.
Yeah. Something. Mm-hmm. Just give us something.
Because again, I think we talked about this in the podcast, if you point a flamethrower straight up in the air, you're dying too.
I don't remember saying that, but that's funny.
We talked about it when we were talking about the mega battle, and Paul's like, yeah, and then a heavy flamer just hive crone out of the air.
It's like just straight up in the air, liquid promethium. This will work out for everyone.
Terminator.
I brought an umbrella.
Yeah, it's conceptually it just needs to be dealt with, I think.
Yeah. But for now, as far as strategies and tactics go,
the
Knight
Archeron is the best anti-air in the game.
There you go.
I mean, I'll give it to him. He's really tall.
Yeah. Right? Okay, see?
Yep, that's fair. And then the last thing we have is kind of the person getting shot at and their tactic, and that's wound allocation. So Adam learned this the hard way in the very first game of 8th edition. he put 1 wound on Celestine when she had 2 Gemini with her, and then was like, oh, all remaining damage has to be allocated to Celestine first.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a 7th edition assumption on my part.
Yeah, that was silly of you.
But it's also cool to see, especially when you're dealing with, multiple or variable damage weapons, how this stuff kind of works, right? Because, again, we talked about this last podcast, you're supposed to roll dice 1 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the rules are built for. If you do that, you're never going to finish a game. So the way that this kind of works now is, so, like, I'm shooting at Paul.
Ah.
Your units, not you. I don't know a gun. I can get my paintball gun.
Don't please.
So let's say I'm firing 2 Blastmasters at Paul's unit of Terminators. This is the best one because we need variable damage and multiple models. I hit, let's say I get 4 hits, and I get 4 wounds first. I can now, what you're supposed to do is roll a d3 for damage, because Blastmasters are d3 damage, then Paul applies that damage. Then I roll another d3 for damage. Then Paul applies that damage. Then I roll the 3rd d3. Paul applies that damage. Now I roll the 4th d3. Paul applies that damage. See how long that took?
Yeah, but it's also...
Now if I just roll 4 d3s and then go, here, apply this damage as you see fit.
Yeah, and
You can't do it like that.
Why not?
No, you can't. You just can't. Because if you just roll them all and let the opponent choose... You don't know if that first shot did the 1 wound on the Terminator or the first shot did the 3 wounds on the Terminator.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You should care.
I don't care.
I do. I do the...
I don't know. That would take so long.
It doesn't take that long, though.
So long.
So
you say that as if it takes hours.
Yeah, no, it's just like, all right, how many wounds? All right, roll that, I roll this. Roll that, roll this. Roll that. Like, it's no different than if we're playing 30k and I stick an Artificer Armor Sergeant up front, and I'm like 1, 2, 3,
That's fair.
See, that's worse. Lookouts are rolling saves one at a time, blah blah.
So
and can we just be clear about this for everybody out there? If you have an ability like Disgustingly Resilient, it applies to you roll an amount of dice equal to the amount of damage you take.
No, not to the wound suffered.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you take a wound, you don't roll your ability there. You wait for the person to roll the damage. If they roll 3 damage, you roll it 3 times.
Right. So the way it's worded terribly in some things, but for example, in the Death Watch Codex, it says every time this model loses a wound.
Yep, that's the kicker.
Mm-hmm. So that's the same as for each damage.
Yes, because it's losing a wound off of its profile.
Because essentially what you're running into there is that wound is 2 different things.
Yeah.
A wound is a characteristic, and wounding is a result.
Yes.
This is just
how it goes.
Yeah, this is my editorial, just being like, this should be 2 different terms.
It should be 2 different terms for sure.
Cool.
Anything else you guys want to cover in shooting? Maybe talk about cover a bit.
It's really hard to get cover.
But when you do, and here's one thing that I really want to discuss, making a house rule for this at our club and seeing how people feel about it. But it doesn't make sense to me that if I've got, for example, a rhino in a piece of area terrain and it's exactly 50% obscured, it gets +1 to its cover save. If I've got a rhino and all you can see is a tip of a track, I don't get a cover save. That doesn't make sense to me.
Like if you're not in the terrain, but you're not, like you're really, really obscured.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah. So like it would be interesting to see how this would work if you would just say a model has to be 50% obscured to gain the benefit of cover, and then have exceptions for infantry. Infantry just has to be inside terrain.
Yeah, that's the way that I've just been playing it.
Yeah. Well,
what?
Yeah, you're not supposed to do.
You're just making up rules now.
Yeah, no, Jesse and I discussed it in our game where it's like, how do you want to play it? Yeah. And we went with the one that made sense.
Yeah, I like that a lot more. Honestly, with vehicles, it doesn't matter too much because usually when you're firing at vehicles, it's with like -3 to -4 AP weaponry.
Mm-hmm. Is there a difference between a 5-up and a 6-up save sometimes? It's a big deal.
Yeah, 16.6%.
It's a big deal.
It's definitely a big deal, yeah. But I think it would make the game go a lot better because I really don't like how, hey, that unit of, like, I do it, I'm guilty of this, like you put a unit of Noise Marines or Havocs inside of ruins, and you're like, come at me, bolters. 2-up save!
That's it.
Yeah.
And then,
So-
yeah.
Sorry to cut
No,
you
no,
off
go
there.
ahead.
This is what we have to kind of like wait to see with the new meta is the benefit of it so good that it merits having it be hard to get?
It's not so good because all you need is a dedicated, even firing a heavy bolter at a unit of Marines in cover. Okay, now you get a 3-up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think the way that the AP modifier works now negates the benefit to cover. But it does make sense that like a guy in a building, small arms fire is going to ricochet off of rocks and drywall and that sort of stuff. But like a Lehman Russ battle cannon round is just going to go straight through that and kill him anyways.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
in some ways I like the changes, and in other ways I think we're still waiting to see like how it's gonna play out overall.
Yeah.
Like let's do like 5 tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Before we...
and then make a judgment call on this
Yeah,
one.
we
'cause-
talked about that before
Yeah.
when we were doing the rules for the upcoming tournament. And so, you know, we did agree that you can't end your movement on top of an objective. Adam.
Is it because I did that, or because I said it wasn't a big deal?
Because you said it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
It's totes a big deal.
All right.
Park a Land Raider on that thing,
Yeah.
and then you can't get to it.
And
That's kind of the point of putting your Land Raider
now
on it.
you've just killed the officer you were sent to retrieve.
Yeah.
If it's an officer.
It's an officer.
And you didn't get inside your Land Raider.
He's not inside your Land Raider.
He's crushed.
He's dead. So
Haven't
that's
you seen Fury?
No, I have not seen
Have
Tank
you
Movie.
seen the clearance underneath a Land Raider? It's not the same as a Sherman Firefly. It's a great movie. Broke my heart.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fury, it was devastating.
It was a good movie.
Maybe I'll watch Tank Movie soon.
Also, The Beast. Have you seen The Beast?
No.
So it's like
Is that a tank movie?
it's a tank movie,
Okay.
but it's set in the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and it's about a Soviet tank crew that gets lost in Afghanistan and ends up like fighting a running battle with the Mujahideen.
That's awesome.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, okay. You sold me.
Yep.
So, moving on from 80s Afghanistan, what can we talk about now?
The charge phase.
Oh, neat. The thing that I've run into the most is declaring multiple targets. That's where things get the messiest.
I agree.
Yeah, we talked about this before we got on the podcast. So there are ways to bring units that you didn't charge into combat, but it's tricky. You have to really, really watch your distances and your rulers, and you don't get to fight that unit.
Yeah, you have to slow down and do this properly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
and
is a one phase with a lot of nuance.
yeah, and we don't need to belabor this because I feel like we talked about this when we learned about the changes in 8th edition. We don't have to like go over it too much, but make sure you're reading your rules correctly. For the love of God, like, you know the difference between a multi-charge and pulling someone in consolidation.
Yeah, you pull out the rulebook when you do the charge phase, because we've all played 10 plus games and we still get this wrong.
Can either multi-charge and you get 2 squads overwatching you, or you consolidate into the other one, following all the stipulations of you're moving towards the closest enemy model, and then enemy model that you charged. Yes. And then if you can consolidate to get within 1 inch of that other unit, they're now in combat. You can't attack them; they can attack you.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we don't have to focus on the actual rules of it. Let's talk about the strategies of it.
Yeah.
How have we found that this has been useful for our strategy?
I never want to pull in a unit. I've pulled in units before. I never want to pull in a unit that has the potential to hurt me in combat.
Right.
Like, I'll pull in a tank.
Totally. Especially
Definitely.
a shooting tank.
Yeah,
Or a shooting unit.
Well, old tank, yeah. A close combat tank.
Hey, I've got repressors. They got giant shovels in the front. They're a
Yeah.
fighting tank.
Like, I would not pull a battle wagon.
No.
With a death roller?
Yeah, a def roller. But there are some things that you definitely want to tie up, like a good shooty unit, another character, for example.
But it also, I think, from a defensive point of view, it's important to consider that you can make your high priority targets a little more dangerous to assault if, when you consolidate, you have to move within 1 inch of another unit that you control. So your opponent has to move in. So you're pulling in, and you're now getting free attacks with like a unit of Stern Guard or just a tactical squad. You know, just like you can set up a defensive position a little bit.
And I think we talked about this beforehand. I don't think you can declare a charge against one unit and then end your charge move within 1 inch of a unit that you didn't declare a charge against.
But you have to pile in then.
Right, but you didn't say.
Okay, yeah. What I want to say, when your opponent piles in, you can position your models that your unit gets pulled in.
Yeah. There was just, again, it's that tricky little nuance, right? Where it's like, not like, oh, I just end my charge. It's like, no. You ended your pile-in within 1 inch of another unit. Now that's in combat.
I've got a fun little tactic that I'm just waiting to like totally catch someone by surprise on.
Gonna catch us.
So yeah, because now I'm going to tell you all. Is my Canoness that I've been using to buff my Exorcists and stuff. Because this happened in my very first game of 8th against you with your Helldrake. You charged in and then tied up both of my Exorcists, which I'm never going to let happen again. And I also have my Canoness there, who's standing there with an Eviscerator and an Inferno Pistol, waiting to heroically intervene into a unit like that.
Yeah.
Right? And just chop them with her Exorcist. And then...
Eviscerator.
Eviscerator.
She's ready to eviscerate them with her Eviscerator.
It's what it says right on the can.
That's right.
Then Inferno them with the Inferno Pistol.
If she's still in combat the next turn.
Yeah.
So you can think of fun little things like that to help save units like that you don't want to get pulled into combat, right?
So this kind of ties into both the charge phase and the shooting phase. How often do you guys actually shoot with pistols in close combat?
I never remember it.
Because I've never done it.
Every time I don't forget.
You don't forget? I forget all the time.
Never remember it.
Yeah, I think it's so much fun.
Oh, it definitely is. I just forget about it all the time.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, Deathwatch don't have bolt pistols.
I remind people about it all the time.
Why would they have bolt pistols? They're only special operations.
Yeah, they only have everything else.
I know. We don't need them. What else do I have written down here?
I don't know.
Yeah, so declaring multiple targets, you can only attack units that you've declared a charge against. And then the cool thing is you can overwatch multiple times if you're charged.
Yep.
Yay. So if you've got a unit that has, let's say, frag cannons, and you charge a unit of Dark Eldar Warriors into them, and they annihilate the unit of Dark Eldar Warriors on Overwatch, then you declare your Archon, which is whatever, you can Overwatch again.
Yeah.
Again and again until a unit either makes it in combat or you've killed everything.
Or there are nothing but charred bodies in your wake.
So as opposed to just like that's just the rules. The strategy there is then you can design your army to be really effective in Overwatch.
Yep.
Intentionally.
Tesla is so good in Overwatch.
Right?
And you also want determines how you want to do your charge order too, right? Because now instead of doing because in 7th you always used to do the long bomb charge first to force your opponent to be like, okay, well there's a closer unit that's more likely to make it in, but if I don't overwatch this unit and it makes the long bomb charge, then I don't get to overwatch against the unit that's closer, so you're going to overwatch against the long bomb charge unit. It doesn't make it and the other unit makes it in. Now it's just like you want to declare it with the short stuff first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not up to you. You don't get a choice. You just
No, but I mean
you just overwatch all the time.
The charger
they have to choose.
They want to choose the shorter range unit first as opposed to 7th where they choose the long range charge first.
Yeah.
Also watch your rules again. This is something we should have talked about at the beginning, but this is again more of what you need to talk about with your opponent. For the love of God, just talk about cover and how you're going to play cover in this game.
You guys love God today. Something happened this week.
Yeah. For the love of Horus. For the love of Pete. Have the conversation with your opponent. Be like, this pipe here, this is a barricade. This rubbly section, this is ruins, because there are things that do subtract -2 from your charge distance. There's also things that blow up when you make a cover save.
True. That's why we made all those pipes water pipes.
They're water pipes, they're not Promethean. So
it's moisture farm.
It blows up and you get wet. Which sucks for Necrons.
So maybe.
And also white scars, because then you can see through their power armor.
Yep. So that's something to keep in mind. Because again, Terrain, important.
Yep.
Yep, that's it. So now we have the fight. Fight phase.
Yeah, so we talked about your pile-ins. We talked about tricky little things with heroic interventions. Activation order is huge when it's not your turn, I find.
Yeah, and then this is also where we're going to throw in the counteroffensive stratagem and when and where to use it.
You use it when your Contemptor Dreadnought is about to get blown up by a Demon Prince, and you need him to swing one more time.
Yeah. Did it work?
No, it didn't, but it was a really good idea. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good idea.
So for anyone out there, just to clarify, when 8th edition now, when charging units charge into combat, they all go first. So if you have 4 units that charge 4 different enemy units, without getting into the stratagem, which we're going to talk about in a second, those 4 units go first in, but you still have to pick which order they attack in, because your opponent might decide to counteroffensive you.
Right. So counteroffensive is after the first charged unit attacks, you can spend 2 command points to interrupt this attack order. So now the defending player is able to activate one of his units to fight, his or hers. Theirs. We have a third person gender neutral pronoun. It's a really it's not tricky to pull off, but it is important to keep in your back pocket. That one can save the day. You can crush a character. You can get a couple extra attacks out of your dedicated assault unit. It can turn an assault. Hell, you can kill a charging unit before they get to attack in the right circumstances.
Yep. Which then goes, after that's done, then it goes back to charging units fighting, and then starting with the player whose turn it is, which would probably be the person who charged, unless you're playing against Ynnari Eldar, because they still have that ability. They can charge in your turn.
I hate them.
Yeah, I know. They didn't get any better or worse. Then the person whose turn it is declares a unit that hasn't charged to start fighting, if there are any.
Mm-hmm.
Then you alternate back and forth. So again, this is... You got to think ahead here.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with this is, when do you choose to go down from, let's say you have 2 command points left. How long do you stay on 2 and hold out?
If you're going to lose an important unit, or you need to, if there's, for example, if there's a squad of, 10 Khorne Berserkers charging a squad of, let's say, Terminators who are, pretty decently kitted out, those Terminators are going down, and if you don't hurt that squad of Berserkers, it's going to murder that squad of Terminators, and it's going to move on and murder something else.
So I understand that. Let's say how late into the game do you save those 2 command points? They're maybe not even necessarily a situation where you need them right now, but do you use a single command point for a reroll, right, or something else?
I don't think that
to know that you cannot counteroffensive anymore.
Honestly, the counteroffensive has done a lot of work for me, but if it's turn 3 and you can kind of see there's not going to be a ton of assaults, or any assaults that do happen are just going to roll right over me, spend your points somewhere else.
So you find it's playing out pretty much early on. That's the big time.
I know when I'm going to use it pretty early on.
Yeah. I find I'm using my rerolls and those sorts of benefits earlier on in the game to maximize the damage output at the start.
Yeah.
When those assaults are going to be make or break the game.
I've been toying around with the idea of saving command points to mid game, and so we'll see how it goes. Just thinking about it.
Yeah.
No,
Smart.
that makes sense.
Smart.
And the other thing I have here is charging rhinos. Love charging rhinos into things. Other rhinos.
I hate it.
Land raiders.
Much. Hate it.
Orcs.
Hate it.
Space Marines.
Hate them. I hate charging rhinos. I think it's
chimeras.
Just things, units.
Hovering flyers.
Brings out so much feel badsies, I think. It's just
that shouldn't be the way it is.
Yeah. To have your land raider have to fallback move and not be able to shoot.
Because of a rhino,
rhino.
a lesser transport.
Yeah.
So you're okay with like one fire warrior assaulting a land raider and it having to fall back from that, but the rhino's where you draw the line?
Yeah, because the Land Raider can crush the Fire Warrior in combat.
But it can't, because you're hitting on 6s.
You have 6 attacks. You're going to hit with 1, strength 6, possibly die, right?
Yeah.
The Rhino, no chances dying.
Yeah.
0 chances dying. You have to fall back, move out.
I know.
But then you fall back, move out, and unless you countercharge it with something else,
It charges
it's
you
just
again.
going to keep ramming you every turn.
And soon shooting it with a melt-a-gun.
Yeah, it basically turns into Jason Voorhees. It's always after you. It's pursuit predation. It's terrifying, and I feel like something maybe needs to be done. But
Yep. It's also great, like, if you got guard, right? So you hop out your squad of guard, and then you shoot at a assaulty unit, and then your Chimera goes in there and starts making blood smoothies with its tracks.
just Bruce tails of body parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
That's fun. I know what you mean. There should be, again, that goes back to the fallback move. There should be some things that don't cause you to be locked in combat. And there should be some sort of penalty to falling back as well. But yeah, so let's move on to the final phase, the morale phase.
if you play Necrons, you save those 2 points, so you can auto-pass a morale test.
Yeah, that's the only real thing that comes in here is, what's it called? Like, heroic
Insane
bravery?
bravery.
Insane bravery. So
Something
you can
like
spend
that.
2 command points. You have to do this before you roll the dice. This is an important part. You can't roll the dice, lose 6 guys, and be like, I'm going to spend 2 command points. You could spend a command point to re-roll that dice. But to auto-pass, you have to spend 2 points before you roll. And it's huge.
Well, like, just consider it as you're spending those 2 points when you roll. Like, that's the way, instead of
rolling.
you are throwing out 2 points instead of a dice.
It's never happened. It's never come up for me.
Play
You don't-
Necrons.
Yeah, play Necron. Or any
army with big units.
any more than 10 models, and you're going to use it.
Yeah.
Like when I played against Jay, if Jay had used it when I killed 16 orcs and he was out of the command bubble range, would have been an entirely different game. Because he would have had 14 orcs just being like, okay,
Alright.
whatever, we got this. And that was, again, orcs have the leadership equal to the guys, so it was 14.
Yeah.
But when you lose 16 guys,
You still feeling that?
yeah, you're still feeling that.
Beep, 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 beep.
And then the other point I wrote down here was low model count units to kind of counter off that, right? So Space Marines don't really have to worry about that. I have lost guys. I have lost Havocs and Noise Marines to Battle Shock because they have 10. But that's only usually when you're rolling like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
It's nice to be able to re-roll it with Space Marines.
Yeah,
I
it
gotta
definitely
say.
is, yeah.
And it'll only really come up with Space Marines if you're losing 4 guys in one turn.
Which is highly possible.
Yeah, and
Three guys, then you start
then on a
pushing
6. Yeah, unless you have your banner around, which the primaries Marines always do. And then it just becomes very cinematic that, like, all of a sudden you're a dude standing by yourself and your squad of 4 buddies is dead, and you're like, maybe I will run away. Right?
Maybe I will leave.
What has the Emperor ever done for me?
You're here, ain't you?
Yeah. Cool.
That was Call. So that's it for the phases. Maybe we should just talk briefly about endgame stuff. What do you do if the game's down to the wire? You know the game's might end of turn 5. Like, what's your thought process and like the end of turn 5 and turn 6?
This is actually a good note for saving your command points for this stage of the game, because as the certain person who went first, you're the person who rolls that dice, which it's important to know who rolls what dice,
To
like
see if
explodes and choosing deployment map, all that kind of stuff.
To see who, if the game ends.
If the game ends, yeah. So you can use a command point on that.
Yep.
That could be who. It hasn't come up for me yet.
Same.
But it could.
Yep.
And then also important thing to note here too, if you ever do play Maelstrom, this is an end of turn thing, not an end of game thing.
Oh yeah, there's other stratagems. Yeah.
You actually check your cards in both turns to see who's scored what. So at the end of my turn, my enemy also sees if they scored their cards too.
Oh, okay. Because I was also under the impression, and we can check here, that there are stratagems for Maelstrom games.
Oh, maybe. But as you
And
flip
there
through
are.
There
So
you go.
there's new orders. So it's 2 command points. You can use this stratagem after generating your tactical objectives at the start of your turn. Immediately discard a tactical objective and generate a new one.
I really like that, and I actually totally missed that. That's really cool.
It's 2 command points, right? So it's
a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. I mean, end of game stuff. Anything else?
No, I think that's everything.
Objectives.
Count you dead.
Always
Bring out your
play
dead.
to the objectives, people.
Mm-hmm.
Always play to the objectives because you might be getting trounced and
Still win.
you might be able to flat out that rhino onto an objective. Sorry, flat out advance that rhino onto an objective that nobody else is holding, or
Yep.
get line breaker, get that extra point, get that tie in there. So, as I say this in every tournament that we run, turn 3 onwards, check the victory conditions every turn.
Yeah, read the missions, then at turn 3, read the mission again.
Yeah, just to make sure. So that's it. There's a lot of changes, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of nuance, and a lot of tactics. Paul and Adam, we need to rematch now that we've got more games under our belt.
It's true.
Because I need to be redeemed for my stupid mistake against Paul.
That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, that's really the stupidest thing you've ever seen me do?
No.
Okay.
You? No.
That's what I thought.
Well, since we're laughing, it's time for
Fun time.
Fun time. So, most improved factions.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 standouts here.
Yep. I honestly, of the standout that
Stands out the most.
there's a unit that stands out the most, and that is my. What the heck? I've got some. Why is my phone all viruses?
You don't
Gene
have an
Stealers.
iPhone.
Gene Stealers, man.
Yeah. Have you fought them yet?
No, but every time I hear about them, it's just the most horrifying thing I've ever heard. Shane had a really interesting status where he said something along the lines of, anyone who heard that violence is not the answer has not seen the correct application of Gene Stealers.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, they're just
Fast.
They're fast. They're probably going to get a first turn charge.
Yep.
They're wherever you don't want them. They are functioning the way that they do in Space Hulk, in your imagination, in the fluff.
My nightmares.
Yep, your nightmares. That, I like them. I like them a lot. I'm not going to like them after I fight them, so it's fine that I'm saying it now, so I'm on record. This is just a cool thing.
Yeah.
We talked last episode about inspiration. These are your xenomorphs crawling through the tubes. Like, they're just something in the jungle snatching your buddy and just tearing them limb from limb.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but these are the guys who steal people's pants.
Get out. That joke is awful. It wasn't funny when it first was said.
It's always funny.
You go to jail. You go to joke
funny.
jail.
Steal jeans from people.
So I think that goes to say that NIDS is one of the armies overall that's most improved.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about pumping out mortal wounds. NIDS can pump out mortal wounds like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played it like directly, like a 1-on-1 regular game. We just did our silly 4-on-4 game.
Yeah.
And they just got annihilated by primarily Paul.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah. Anyways, and I just keep seeing people posting like, oh, lost to NIDS today, or Matt just being like, oh, had a fun game against this person, and then posting.
I definitely played them again, and I stomped them into the ground.
You played them again?
No, he always says that, right? Because he's a nice guy. So he's always like,
Oh.
I would definitely play this person again. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you kicked his ass.
Thank you, Matt Schnarr.
Yeah, you psycho. But no, I'm glad to see Tyranids becoming a threat. Like, for a long time, they were the bottom of the tournaments. They were the butt of a lot of jokes. And
That's not true. They won the ITC last year
did they?
with like 5 lictors and a whole bunch. Like, it was a dumb list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
It's just a one-trick pony. As many flyers as you can with the twin-winged virus is stupid.
That's like a 8-trick pony.
it's
I can do the same trick multiple times.
well,
That's it.
no, it's just
brutal.
8 ponies doing one trick. If we're going to,
There, see?
if we're going to get there, it
Yes.
is a fleet of flying ponies that's
All one trick.
or
That fire
grubs.
living ammunition.
I think those are grubs. Are they?
I wouldn't eat them.
No. They eat you.
I know, that's why I wouldn't eat them.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. Maybe that's their weakness.
You think you eat one, they'll be like, "Oh my god, we respect him."
The answer has clearly become Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh God. Uh,
Tastes like chicken.
what's the matter?
Yeah, Nids, good. I played Dark Eldar for the first time on Saturday, and I was surprised many times by the ridiculousness that is Dark Eldar. All of their raiders have a 5-up invulnerable save. Venoms have a 5-up invul save. That helps them so much. It comes stock. It's not extra. Standouts there were the Dark Lances mounted on vehicles. They lose the heavy rule and become the Salt. They're basically melt-a-guns that are 36-inch range.
Hilarious.
Don't get 2d6 and pick the highest. It's just straight up d6. And you throw 3 of those things on a Ravager and jump around the board, and you're firing a lot of shots at people. Yeah, they're good. They're going to be back. Dave didn't bring any of like the stuff that I really like from the Dark Eldar model line, like the Homunculus and the Rax and the Mandrakes and the Talos.
Yeah, you like the more like body horror stuff.
That's what Dark Eldar is to me, not guys in Jabba the Hutt barges.
See, I always thought of them as pirates. So, like, I like the Raiders. I like the bunch of green goblins. I like witches.
Fair, that's fair. Yeah.
And like that other stuff is cool, and I would love to paint up a bunch, but like the models are more interesting than the way they play for me.
Maybe not anymore.
Maybe.
We don't know how they play.
Oh man, did I just start a Dark Eldar army?
I think so. And Poison is still as ridiculously effective as always, if not more so, with the amount of bigger units on the board. And by bigger units, I mean things like bigger units, like monsters.
Yeah, it's more appealing to take big tanks. It's more appealing because they can't get blown up in one turn.
No, but what I mean is, like, if you're facing off like Gilliman or a character, like the fact that Poison's wounding on a 4-up is really, really good. Doesn't matter. It always wounds on 6s against tanks.
Yeah,
right.
Again, it shouldn't wound at all because you're literally firing poison darts at things.
Yeah, but it's the idea that
open the eye slit. Got me.
Oh God, that was a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
Also, glass. Maybe check out some glass.
Yeah. Then wear eye goggles, maybe, if you're driving a tank around. So, Adam, have you played against Guard or played Guard yet?
Nope, but I've seen all the dumb lists that people are making with Guard.
Connor Colley, you yellow-bellied coward.
Yep. You weak man.
We've seen the lists you're coming up with, and we don't like them.
I like Connor's list. They're hard. They are hard. The one with the Bulgrins.
It should be interesting. But they're definitely back. And I think, again, it's not like their units got super powerful. It's things with fallback and the fact that most vehicles in the game got a huge, like, 20 to 30 to 50... Well, the drop pod got, like, a 70% points increase. It went from being 35 points to 107.
I'm okay with it.
That's a 300% increase.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot. But Guard vehicles didn't jump that much, if at all.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, because all of a sudden, like, when I played them in a 2,000-point game, I was like, you have more tanks than I have units of any type. And then you still have kind of like guys inside the chimeras. Yeah. So they're back. They're good. Wyverns. Give me nightmares.
Yeah, Wyverns are pretty rough.
Yeah. I'm surprised they left it like that because they were always pretty good.
Yeah. Well, they're one of the newer kits, right?
I guess so.
We know that they make rules for the kits that they want to push.
Yeah. Wait, are you trying to say that they're a business that wants to stay open?
Yeah. Because sometimes when I see like units that are like really, really, really good, I'm like, how many are like sitting in a stock room somewhere that they weren't able to sell and got returned by retailers?
Yeah.
That's real life.
It is real life.
You got to make life choices, son.
Anything else we want to touch on? Anything else that's like really stood out? Units, faction specifics.
That's a good point. Like just for us uniquely. Yeah. I mean, I really like my Penitent engines, even though I've learned that I should not cheat with them anymore. I still like how they are.
Now, here's a question: if you intended on committing a crime and you didn't commit the crime, are you still guilty? No, we're not going to go down that road. Okay.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Otherwise, conspiracy couldn't be a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, or treason. Well, no.
It's attempted treason.
Yes. Anyways,
Anyways,
this is not the Inches and Cubes Law Hour.
So they went from being able to explode from a single bolter hit to now being able to just wade across the battlefield, pump out a bunch of dreadnought close combat attacks, and still be loaded up with 6 flamers in the whole unit.
and maybe attack twice.
And possibly attack twice in a row, which is different from the Corn Berserkers. who
Right.
Have to wait a turn. Yeah. Love it.
Paul?
Necrons, for me, it really drove home how important all your characters are, and it kind of gave new life to those characters.
Any particular unit stand out?
I gotta say, the warriors, man. The warriors went from being these are gonna be good to these are some of my favorite troops in the entire game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, they murder Marines left out in the open. They plink tanks to death. They come in batches of 20 now. Well, they always did, but now you've got reason.
Super good.
They're super resilient. Yeah, and horrifying.
Yep. Well, besides the ones that I love to talk about, Fire Raptor, Noise Marines, Whirlwind, Scorpius.
We're talking about most improved unit.
Havocs.
Not unit that was good before.
Havocs.
Havocs?
For sure.
Yeah.
My Havocs have never let me down in a game.
And you never took them before, right?
I never ever took them before. I've always had them kicking around. I used them in Horus Heresy. And just the way that las cannons, missile launchers, heavy weapons function now. Because I just hated it in 7th, where you're like pointing a las cannon at a Carnifex or a
One
Tau
wound.
battle suit, and it's like 1 wound. Oh, I shrug it off with a feel no pain or an invulnerable save.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're just like, that's dead.
Yeah, I blew that thing right up.
And one thing
Or
I
if
do
not the
like
whole
doing
thing,
is putting a combi melta on the sergeant. So if somebody gets too close, like, just like, ha-ha!
Nope.
Shoot it at them.
Zap.
Yeah.
I was going to say, at least now I can blow an entire chunk off it, even if I don't
Yeah.
kill it.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, because 4 las cannons can really, really put the hurt on anything.
Yep.
And I've got to start using command bubbles, because if I do rapier batteries or the noise marines or the havocs and the scorpius, like, I need a lord there to start getting the rerolls, the ones to hit, because they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, getting them that much better would be.
Such a power gamer, Nick.
We're all talking about using the command bubbles now.
I know. When did this happen?
8th edition.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go deal with our secret shames.
I have to cook dinner and get ready for my interview tomorrow.
I'm going to go play a game of Infinity.
I'm gonna go make butter chicken.
Ooh.
Yeah, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Email for the recipe.
Now I'm hungry, so we're going to go for today. We hope to see as many of you as possible tomorrow at our Lethal Lottery Doubles event.
At least 24.
If you're not registered, if it's full right now, and we do have one person on the waiting list, so if you're not registered and want to see what the club's all about, see why this event filled up and we had to add an extra table within 2 days of registration opening, come by Sword and Board on Saturday. It's the first time we've said it this episode.
Brock and Blore!
Brock and Blore, behind the piece of pizza, Sword and Board!
This has been and will remain Paul Mr. Fist Fowler.
Point and click, Nick.
And Adam Truax, the truest axe to ever axe an axe.
And thanks for joining us. And check back again soon for some more 40k goodness. And remember, it's just inches and cubes.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.